my story time. Now, today I've got a request from two little boys. Their names are Musa, hello Musa, and his little brother Yusuf. Hello Yusuf, thank you for watching my story time. I hope you're enjoying it, and thank you so much too for sending in your brilliant requests. Now, this story is as old as me. So I guess you're thinking it's really, really, really old. And I remember reading this story when I was a little girl. And that's the most incredible thing about stories is you can retell them, you can reuse them, and they last forever. So I wanted to share this with you. Thank you so much, Yusuf and Musa, because it's a really good suggestion. I will show you the story right now. This is the story today. It's called Funnybones, and it's by Janet and Alan Olberg. And there, I think we know what the Funnybones are, aren't they? They're skeletons! Yeah, that's right. But I think by the looks on their faces, they are very, very friendly skeletons. So I'm going to start reading this story. You might have heard it before. I know I have, and so have my family. But it's always fun to get out an old favourite. So I'm going to start reading the story now. I will show you the pictures every time I get to the end of the page. I promise. Okay, so here we go. Funnybones by Janet and Alan Olberg. This is how the story begins. On a dark, dark hill, there was a dark, dark town. In the dark, dark town, there was a dark, dark street. In the dark, dark street, there was a dark, dark house. In the dark, dark house, there was a dark, dark staircase. Down the dark, dark staircase, there was a dark, dark cellar. And in the dark, dark cellar, wow, let's have a look. So here are the pictures. We've got the dark, dark town, the dark, dark street, the dark, dark house, the dark, dark staircase, and down the dark, dark staircase, the dark, dark cellar. Do you know what's inside the dark, dark cellar? Really? You think it's the Funnybones? Let's find out. And in the dark, dark cellar, some skeletons lived. There was a big skeleton, a little skeleton, and a dog skeleton. And there you can see them inside their cellar. The big skeleton, the little skeleton, and the dog skeleton. Woof! Can you do it too? Amazing. One night, the big skeleton sat up in bed. He scratched his skull. Ooh, what shall we do tonight? He asked. Let's take the dog for a walk, said the little skeleton. And frighten somebody. Good idea, the big skeleton said. And there you can see, they're sitting in bed. The big skeleton is scratching his skull. And here we've got, this is called a speech bubble. And it shows when people in pictures talk. And the big skeleton says, what shall we do tonight? And the little skeleton says, let's take the dog for a walk. So the big skeleton, the little skeleton, and the dog skeleton left the dark, dark cellar, climbed the dark, dark staircase, and stepped out into the dark, dark street. And there you can see their family portrait up on the wall. And they're going out for their walk. They walked past the houses and the shops. They walked past the zoo and the police station. They went into the park. And there you can see them going for their walk. It looks a bit quiet, doesn't it? Is it quiet if you go on a walk too? It is at the moment, isn't it? Wow, I wonder what they're going to do when they get to the park. The big big skeleton scratched his skull. Ooh, what shall we do now? He said. Let's play on the swings, said the little skeleton. And throw a stick for the dog. And frighten somebody. Good idea, the big skeleton said. So the big skeleton, the little skeleton and the dog skeleton walked around the dark, dark pond, past the dark, dark tennis courts and up to the dark, dark swings. And there you can see, oh, that looks like an amazing park, doesn't it? Look at all those flowers growing. It's a jolly good job it's raining because all of our flowers will be growing now too. And they're having a lovely time in the park. The big skeleton and the little skeleton played on the swings. They threw a stick for the dog. And there you go. That's them on the swings. How high can you swing on the swings? Really? That high? You can touch the sky! Wow, I wonder if the skeletons go that high on the swings. Suddenly, something happened. The dog skeleton chased the stick, tripped over a park bench, bumped into a tree. Uh-oh. Can you see here, this line is showing how the big skeleton is throwing the stick and the dog skeleton is saying, woof, woof. But he tripped over a park bench, bumped into a tree and ended up as a little pile of bones. Look at that, the big skeleton said. He's all come to pieces. What shall we do now? Let's put him together again, the little skeleton said. So the big skeleton and the little skeleton put the dog skeleton together again. They sang a song while they did it. And there you can see, oh, the poor dog skeleton. He's a little pile of bones. Luckily, I think the skeletons know what to do to get him back together. They're going to sing a song as they do it. The toe bone's connected to the foot bone. The foot bone's connected to the leg bone. The leg bone's connected to the hip bone. The hip bone's connected to the backbone. And there you can see the skeletons singing the song. I hope they're better at singing than I am. But there, they've got all the parts of the dog. And I hope they've got him back together again. Uh-oh. Then they got mixed up. Is that a toe bone? The little skeleton said. Where does this one go? Said the big skeleton. Oh dear. And the doggy skeleton, he's all mixed up too. He can't even woof properly. Can you see here? He's saying, woofo. And here he's saying, oof! And here he's saying, oof, woof! And look, he doesn't look very happy here either, does he? When they had finished, the big skeleton said, that dog looks a bit funny to me. So he does, said the little skeleton. We've got his tail on the wrong end, and his head. Foof! Said the dog skeleton. Oh dear, they've got his head and his tail on the wrong end. Poor doggy skeleton. I hope they can fix it. At last, the dog was properly put back together again. The big skeleton and the little skeleton sang another song. These bones can bark again, can run around in the park again, can frighten people in the dark again. The big skeleton scratched his skull. That reminds me, he said. We forgot to frighten somebody. Let's do it on the way home then, said the little skeleton. Good idea, the big skeleton said. And there you can see. They look much happier now that doggy's wrapped round the right way, don't they? So much so, they're doing some good singing. And again, I hope they're better at singing than I am. So the big skeleton, the little skeleton and the dog skeleton left the dark, dark swings, went out into the dark, dark town and tried to frighten somebody. And there they are. And again, they're using their speech bubbles. And the big skeleton is saying, "Oh, I wish we had a nice little boy to frighten." And the little skeleton is saying, "Oh, I wish we had a nice old lady." I wonder who they're going to come across, if anybody, to frighten. The trouble was, there wasn't anybody. Everybody was in bed. Even the policemen in the police station were in bed. Even the animals in the zoo. Of course, the skeleton animals were awake. And there you can see. You can see they're looking in on all of the houses, even at the zoo. Everyone's asleep, apart from the skeleton animals. Can you guess what the animals are? This one. Well, I think these bubbles show that it lives underwater. A fish. And this one has a long neck. What animal do you know with a long neck? Yeah, I think it's a giraffe too. And this one is hanging upside down and he's fast asleep. So he's a bit of a slow creature. Do you know? I think it's a sloth. And there we've got a tiny creature going squeak, 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 squeak. You know it's a mouse. And this one with his little snout and his curly tail and he's going oink, oink, oink. It's a pig. And this one, well, this one I think is quite easy. It's long and thin and it goes sss. You think it's a snake too? So do I. Oh, here's another picture of what the skeletons got up to at the zoo. Can you see? They're on an elephant skeleton. And the big skeleton is saying, "Gee up, Nelly." And down here, a parrot skeleton. And it's saying, "Good evening, all. Who's a cheeky boy then? Have a cup of tea. Pretty Polly, put the kettle on. Put the kettle on, mother." Isn't that fun? "Let's have a ride on the elephant skeleton," the little skeleton said. "Let's have a word with a parrot skeleton." The big skeleton scratched his skull. Let's keep out of the way of the crocodile skeleton," he said. And there, you can see. I wouldn't fancy going near the crocodile skeleton either. Look at all of those teeth. Oh, they're running away from him. When they were back in the street and when they still could not find anybody to frighten, the big skeleton said, "What shall we do now?" The little skeleton scratched his skull. "Let's frighten each other," he said. "That's better than nothing." "Good idea," the big skeleton said. And there you can see them happily using those speech bubbles again. And the doggy skeleton, well, this time he's got a thought bubble, something that he's thinking. It says, "What a brain. What a good idea. They're going to frighten each other." So after that, the big skeleton frightened the little skeleton skeleton frightened the big skeleton and the little skeleton frightened the dog skeleton, and the dog skeleton frightened them. Whoa, look. Oh, I think I'll show you all of it together, all the frightening going on. There's a hand coming up going, "Gotcha!" And someone's dangling from a tree, and the little skeleton saying, "Boo!" And then the skeletons are chasing the dog skeletons and they're saying, "Meow!" And the dog skeleton's chasing them back, shouting, "Woof!" Woof! What a lot of scaring. They hid around corners and frightened each other. They climbed up lampposts and frightened each other. They jumped out of dustbins and frightened each other. Whoa, such a lot of frightening going on. What fun. I hope they've enjoyed it. They did it all the way home. And that is how the story ends. On a dark, dark hill, there was a dark, dark town. In the dark, dark town, there was a dark, dark street. In the dark, dark street, there was a dark, dark house. In the dark, dark house, there was a dark, dark staircase. Down the dark, dark staircase, there was a dark, dark cellar. In the dark, dark cellar, some skeletons lived. There you can see, frightening each other all the way home. And there's the skeletons, back down the dark, dark stairs and into the dark, dark cellar. That's where they live. And they still do. And it says, the end. Well, that was a lovely story. That's the story. It's called Funnybones by Janet and Alan Alberg. And I really enjoyed reading it. There's loads of really good suggestions there. Maybe you could play hide and seek. Maybe you could pretend to be a skeleton and scare somebody. But make sure they're not too scared. Okay then, thank you so much for watching today. I'll be back again tomorrow with another story. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you again very soon. Until then, do stay safe, take care, and be kind. Bye-bye. Bye.